Yo, what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and today we're going to take a deep dive into how to pull out your divinity. We're going to use the Tao, one verse of the Tao, as well as many verses of the Gospel of Thomas, of course, the Hermetics and alchemy, in order to come to this discovery. Now, we're going to give a few minutes, let some people get on. Of course, I'm going to do some sharing here. We're going to take some time out. I hope everyone is being safe, being conscious of their movements, the people that they come in contact with. I want everybody to remain safe out there as we have to deal with economic things and viral things. I am going to do a live tomorrow. What's up, CD? How you doing? Peace, bro. I'm going to do another live probably tomorrow, and we're going to talk about tomorrow's live. I don't know what time yet, but for everything that I know about the body, about herbs and how to heal yourself, we're going to talk about those things tomorrow on tomorrow's live. So I hope you guys come be present for that. So like I said, I'm doing a little bit of sharing right now. I want to get some people on here. So my family's upstairs. Hopefully they ain't being like super loud, even though I hear them. uh, Life is interesting nowadays. We all have different things we have to deal with, different situations. I hope everybody's taking this time to really get to know. This is what a lot of what we're going to talk about tonight is getting to know yourself. This is how we deep dive into our divinity, is really getting to know more of who we are. So I hope that many of you guys are taking that opportunity right now to really get to know who you are, to get to know your family members, to get to know your, um, to study more, uh, stay healthy, exercise, spend more time reading, building your business or your side hustle, as people like to call them. I hope we're spending this time doing quality things and not just becoming lazy. A lot of people right now are becoming lazy. Can you teach these folks how to disconnect from media, etc., and self-reflect? Actually, that's part of what we're going to talk about tonight. Is that disconnecting? This is why. So yeah, we're going to talk somewhat about those kinds of things tonight as well. So I hope everybody's like ready for that. Let's get ready for that. I think I've done all the sharing that I'm gonna do for this one. Now I just got to get back to my notes, and we will kick this thing into gear. I don't know if you guys can hear my nephew up there making all kind of noise. So I want to talk before we get started. The two primary pieces of literature that we're utilizing tonight, and always remember, when it comes to me and the things that I teach, literature is just that. It's just literature. It's what people thought of the world and of the universe based on their culture, their identity, how they view things. So I'm not, when I quote a literature from anyone, any book, any author, whether it's a religious book or not, I am not quoting it because it is the end all be all. It is the idea of gaining wisdom. All right. And that's what it's about. It's about gaining wisdom. And I'm gonna try to answer your questions as we go too. You and Kev taught me so much as far as that thing that goes. I got nothing but love for you, brothers. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. If anybody who's watching this later, he's talking about Kevin Wesley. And so tonight, uh, so the literature that we're going to use, the two primary, and of course I'm going to throw in things from other literatures that I read, but the two primaries that we're using tonight is the Tao. The Tao is an ancient work that was written about about 500 years before the New Testament was put together. It was written after the Buddhist doctrines, so the Buddhist doctrine was about 600 years before. So so soon after that, you had the Tao, and the Tao is supposedly written by a guy Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was a wise Buddhist who realized he gained the Buddha head and understanding the Buddha consciousness is something that is not only in Buddhism but is also in Hinduism called the Buddha. And It is coming to a state of awakening, coming to a state of knowing. And Lao Tzu came to that state of knowing to the point where he did something that is written in the Gospel of Thomas. It just dawned on me that he did something that is written in the Gospel of Thomas, where it talks about a man who understands the world and has gained wealth will renounce the world. Didn't say renounce his wealth, but renounce the world. It talks about fasting from the world. So Lao Tzu basically got to a point in his awakened state that he was renouncing the world. He was fasting from the world, and he had decided he was going to go and live up in the mountains, away from the other humans. And upon his departure, as the legend goes, a young man asked him to impart his wisdom before he left. And that is where the Tao comes from. And it is about 80 different statements of how to live, how to govern, and how to come to an awakened state of mind. I know this is off the topic, and after this question, I'm turning into the student mode. What's up with Josh and the other brothers from New York? I do not know. That is a very good question, and I have been remiss. I will check on Josh after this. I will check on Josh and see how he's doing. That's a good point. I will be checking on him after this one. Last I've heard, Josh was doing pretty good. You know, IT guy getting his IT thing on. So, and Josh still pays attention. He watches everything. He's still present. And I don't think he's not. So, the Tao was written down about 2,400 years ago. It was written down as to these wise sayings, these wise ideas, these thoughts that take you beyond the 4 and the 8 of Buddhism. So that's where the Tao comes from. Now the Gospel of Thomas is a whole nother story, whole nother historical story. So the Gospel of Thomas is attributed to Didymus Judas Thomas. This is the twin. Sometimes some historians say it's the twin of Jesus. But it was supposedly written by the doubting Thomas of the New Testament, who questioned whether or not it was Jesus and wanted to look at his hands. It's attributed to him. These writings were found in Nag Hammadi in the 1940s. They were found in clay jars and in a cave. Why were they in caves? Why were they in clay jars? Why hasn't this information been readily available from the time of from 0 in the Julian Gregorian calendar up till now? Why haven't it been available? Well, it wasn't available because after the Nicene Council and up until the next 20, 30 years, it was decreed that there will be no other versions of Christianity, no other writings that were late to Christianity other than what the Orthodox and those who were in charge of the Roman Church authorized. And so the writings like the Gospel of Thomas, the secret writings of Peter, all these Gnostic Gospels, which were very prevalent throughout the Middle East and North Africa, had to go into hiding. So, and many of these went into a library in Nag Hammadi, and there were, I think, at least 12 different books that were established from that one. Gospel of Thomas turned out to be one of my favorites. So they were separated, and they were hidden. And in the 1940s, I believe 1947, they were discovered in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, and we have them today. We have the translations. We have translations. There are additions that people have put in there, and I try to understand the additions and take them out because you know how people are. We're going to add in what is favorable to our culture. So, but the Gospel of Thomas, on a personal note, this was a manuscript that when I was going through my challenges, when I was going through my religious reorganization within my mind and my spirit, when I was going through that, the Gospel of Thomas was one of those pivotal manuscripts that was introduced to me back in 1991 that changed my perception concerning religion, concerning spirituality, concerning my own personal divinity. It changed the way I studied. It changed the way I viewed things. It took me out of that system of let me choke other people who do not agree with me, or let me kick them down and make them feel ignorant or stupid or whatever. Although I can be arrogant, in my statements when I'm talking to people. I can't get arrogant and looked upon as someone who talks down to people. I can get that way. It's never my intention, but it does happen from time to time. But this one made me realize that all things are connected, that there is synchronicity within it all, but we have to be able to strip away all the parts that people put into play. For example, the dog is outside. For example, I like to liken it unto an orange. And I want you to do this with what I'm teaching today. I love oranges. I love them. Oranges are one of my favorite fruits. But when it comes to an orange, there's the peel. I do not eat the peel, but I peel it off. So we have to peel off the traditions. We have to peel off the culture. We have to peel off all these different things that that encasing the meat, the good part of it. Now, once we peel those things off and understand that, well, this was written, yes, but it has some cultural bias. It has some political bias to it. Once we understand those things, then we have to say, okay, we're left with the meat, but even within the meat, there are seeds. Those seeds can be planted to grow a new tree, or they can be cast away. But what we do not do is eat the seed. We do not eat our seed. So, although there is truth in everything, there is also lies in everything. The law of the polarity in the Hermetics teaches us that nothing is all one way true or one way false. There are different degrees all along. And depending upon where you're landing is going to be your perception of all things. So the Gospel of Thomas was one of those things. So moving on, it changed the way I perceived things back in 1991, and then everything that I discovered and learned thereafter. So to begin this one, how do we take a deep dive into our own divinity, based mostly off the Gospel of Thomas, but we're going to start with the Tao. Your own personal divinity is you. But it's not the you that you look in the mirror and see this face, see the body, you see the melanin, you see the lack of melanin, you see whatever. It is not your gender, it is not your nationality, it is none of those things. But we get so caught up into the labels and the tags that we have created and put upon ourselves. You guys know that I quote quite often Kierkegaard when he said that once you label me, you negate me. Why? Because once you label me, now I can only live up to your labels. And the goal of diving deep into your divinity is to be able to exercise yourself out of your labels, is to realize the trueness of who you are, what's around you, the world in itself. So we start with verse 12 of the Tao. And this is the only verse of the Tao that we're going to cover. I have covered all the other preceding 11 verses of the Tao in previous videos. But the Tao says in verse 12, the 5 colors blind the eye. The 5 tones deafen the ear. The 5 flavors dull the palate. Racing, hunting, and galloping about only disturb the mind. Wasting energy to obtain rare objects only impedes one's growth. So the sage is led by his inner truth and not his outer eye. He holds what is deep and not what lies on the surface. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Take it in. Breathe that in. Get that good prana in on that one, so you can release out the nirvana of this. 5 colors blind the eye. It's too much. 5 tones deafen the ear is too much. 5 flavors dull the palate. Eating. Too much. Racing, hunting, galloping about only disturbs the mind. You're too rush. You gotta wasting energy to obtain rare objects only impedes one's growth. We spend our time working. I need a house, I need a new car, I need this, I need bigger, I need better, I need bigger, I need better. So wasting energy to obtain rare objects only impedes one's growth. Because while we're doing all of that, what we're not doing is doing what the sage does. So the sage is led by his inner truth and not his outer eye. Right? Your inner truth, not your outer eye. What is true in the inside, not what you see and visualize, not what you go and do that everybody else says that you should be doing. You see, finding your inner divinity is looking inside, understanding your inner truth. I was in a somewhat debate this morning with a young lady commenting on one of my previous videos, and it gets to a point where she was saying that the truth just hasn't found you. And I told her that one of the things that I've learned and discovered over this time frame, over my life, and overall this studying is that there is no absolute truth. That everybody's going to have their own truth, first based on their culture, based on their tradition, based on the family they grew up in and the people they grew up around, based on what society has deemed is true. Historically, we can call things facts, but those are only facts based on who's telling the story. So we have our own truth based on how we grew up. Rarely have we taken upon ourselves to gain the wisdom of looking at what is fact, what is fiction, what is faith, and what is actually true to ourselves. Rarely have we done that. We rarely have taken that wisdom. And it's the rare person who actually does that. Most will never do it. They will stay strong to whatever it is they have been taught and understand. And then that's all they will know. And everything else is dedicated towards justifying what they have been taught, trained, conditioned, traditioned into. What their political statements have told them is true. What their country history have told them is true. So, but the sage looks at the inner truth, not the outer eye. He holds what is deep and not what lies on the surface. What lies on the surface is everything that you can easily see and identify. What lies below is understand the deeper levels of what you're doing. You see that this is the legend of Sun Tzu and who he was, but on the surface we take the legend and some dismiss it, some accept it. But at the end of the day, what is he really saying? What is the real truth that he's talking about? And when we look at this Gospel of Thomas in a minute, regardless of that effect, of the fact that it may attribute sayings to Jesus, Yeshua, whichever name you want to call him, regardless if it was something that was used by Christians who were killed off by the Orthodox Christians that became the Catholic Church, that out of the Catholic Church came all other churches, regardless of that, what is the inner message that's being said and being taught? That's what we want to know. That's what the sage does. That's what true wisdom is. CD, so how does oneself reflect and find the truth, what I'm looking for? So we're going to get to that. If you have previously saw the other couple of videos I just did on how to go limitless, you're going to have a head start. But if you haven't, I'm going to tell you within this one. To look at the inner truth goes back to the Shakespearean words of to know thyself. To know thyself. The Gospel of Thomas, to get you started on that one. The Gospel of Thomas says something that I believe helps you to first start understanding what your inner truth is. In verse 6 of the Gospel of Thomas, it's not really a verse, it's a statement, right? In sayings, it's actually called sayings. In saying number 6 in the Thomas, it says that his disciples asked him and said to him, do you want us to fast? How should we pray? Should we give to charity? What diet should we observe? And Yeshua said, don't lie. Don't lie. Don't do what you hate, because all things are discovered before heaven. After all, there is nothing hidden that won't be revealed, and there is nothing covered up that won't remain undisclosed. Now, I want you to think about that. Now, please, for a minute, even if you're not Christian, if you're not Gnostic, if you're not religious, you're atheist, whatever you are, you're Buddhist, it doesn't matter. Set that to the side for just a moment and think about what was just said. These disciples were asking a question of how should we look holy, basically. How should we figure out how to step into your place? Now, they could have had a sincerity of heart and saying and wanting to, I'm sincerely asking, how should we pray? How should we eat? What diet should we observe? Should we give charity? What are the things that we need to do in order to see kingdom, in order to get in there, to know, to be like you? And they may have been sincere of heart to be and asking this question, but what they were looking for were things on the surface. As the Tao says, he holds to what is deep and not as what lies on the surface. So many times people are looking for the surface thing of how do I? Give me the step 1, 2, 3. But he told them, don't do what you hate. Don't do what you hate. If you're participating in a religious organization and the majority or well enough of it is something that you hate, that you do not like, that you have to force yourself to go do and participate in, then there is something that you hate. You should not do it because you are now defiling your inner self. That is not a truth that is for you. This is why many people are in religious organizations or they in ways of thought, but they are not receiving what it is that it says that they should receive. They're not. And why? Because it is something that goes against their inner truth of who they are. It doesn't work for them because emotionally they cannot connect to it. Mentally, they cannot really make it their focus, so they can't do it. Give you an example. I can tell everyone who's listening to this, whoever listens to this over thousands of years of time, that one of the way that you maintain a financial place of peace is to never spend more money than you earn. Never spend more than you earn. As a matter of fact, never allow your standard of living to exceed 70% of what you earn. Now, we know as a fact that no matter what society you live in, right? They don't want to disappoint family. This is true, Crystal. Many do not want to disappoint their families. But we know no matter what society you've ever lived in, no matter what time have ever existed, if you expend more of your resources than you have, you live in financial lifestyle poverty. But if you do not expend more than you have, regardless of your standard of living, you are wealthier than the person who has the bigger house, has more things you are wealthier than they are, because as soon as hard times come, you do not suffer at the level to which they suffer. You do not lose your house. If you're living on 70% of what you earn, and all of a sudden we have an economic situation, you do not lose out. Why? Because if you've been taking 10% of what you earn and you've been saving that up for 10 years, then you have 1 year salary saved up. So if you do lose your job, you do not lose your standard of living for an entire year because you have 1 year saved up. How many people will actually follow that? How many? How many people will do something like that? I can tell you. But many people have grown up believing that they should spend their money and have as much fun as they choose to have. And for them, they hate that lifestyle. They hate saving. So what is their solution? What will be their truth? Their truth will be that you need to make more money. You need to put yourself in a position where no matter what the economy happens, you're good. You need to be in the mindset to understand that there is money to be made in every economy. And when you know that every economy has a way to make money, you have to be nimble enough to move and be forward thinking enough to move in that direction. Other than that, you need to save. You need to save. So you cannot do what you hate. Don't ever do what you hate. That's the first thing. Figure out what you love. Now, there is a guiding light to that. Because some people can say, oh, well, what if I love murdering people? No. No. What if I love stealing? No. There is the idea of the golden rule. This golden rule has been prevalent throughout all society and all time. So let's establish it right now before somebody goes half crazy on that thought process. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. Do not do what you would not want someone else doing to you. Otherwise, you're doing what you hate. If you hate being stolen from, you do not steal. If you hate being murdered, you do not murder. If you hate being raped, you do not rape. If you hate being taken into slavery, you do not take into slavery. If anything that you would hate to be done unto you, you do not do it to other people. But beyond that, as long as you're not stepping on anyone else's rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, then don't do what you hate. Don't do what you hate. I know many people who say, I want to be a millionaire, billionaire, but they hate what it would take to become that person. Don't do it. Inner discovery starts with you understanding what it is you hate. I did a video a while back, a couple years ago, but some people hate their self, so they hurt people. So hurt people hurt people. Some people do hate themselves, right? But you're still doing what you hate. No matter how you slice that, you're still doing what you hate. You hate yourself, but that doesn't mean you go and hurt other people. You have to say, okay, well, I hate myself. Let me do what do I need to do to stop hating myself? How do I love myself? How do I fall in love with myself? How do I look in the mirror every day and say, I love you. I love you, Larenzo. Lorenzo, you are the man. You so handsome. You so smart. So you have to figure out how to love yourself. So every day you do your I ams. You know, every day I have 66 I ams that I read off. Right? 66 of them. You know, I am Larenzo. I am charming. I am a salesman. I am an entrepreneur. I am powerful. I am a father. I am divine. I am. I have 66 I ams that I say every morning. There's no way I can say these 66 I ams and I'm basically patting myself on the back, congratulating myself, telling myself what I am, even if those things aren't in full fruition right now. But there's no way I say those 66 things every day and then look in the mirror and hate myself. A person who hates themselves is looking in the mirror saying that my hair is ugly, my face is ugly, no one loves me, you're not smart, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. They are saying everything that they are. And just as every great teacher has said, whatever you say is what you are. Whatever you focus on is what's going to be in your life. This is how we find our inner divinity. We still have to change what we focus on. So the first thing is stop doing what you hate. Figure that out. Negate the things out of you that you don't like. Right? If there's something, you have to say what you're not. Right? So if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're not a business owner, if you're not a high income earner, or if you're not interested in positions that will make you a high income earner, if you say that I'm a manager or I'm a worker, I'm a welder, I'm a salesperson, I'm a delivery guy, whatever it is that you say that this is what I am, because when I'm doing this kind of work, I'm happy, I'm at peace, right? Then say this is what I am, and then you have to accept what comes with that. I pass by when I'm out. So if you guys have noticed, I started a real estate channel and I go out and I tour homes. And while I'm out touring homes, I often pass by houses that are older and smaller. And but when I look in the yard, they got two motorcycles, a boat, and an RV and a car. These people, they live in a smaller house, but they got all the toys. They got all the toys. While I go by other homes and they got the big house, but their car is horrible, and these people just work, 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 work. Who do you think is happier? So we have to recognize, well, I'm not going to be the CEO of this company. I'm not going to be a president, vice president. I'm not going to make six figures. But how can I create the life that I want based on my $50,000, my $40,000? I told you before, I said there was a young lady I know. She's on her fifth passport. She's never made more than $40,000 a year, but she travels around this world constantly. So it's about setting yourself up based on who you are. That self-reflecting. I'm all for that, but we are out here sick, living around other sick people. So how does that lost person change that mentality? If I understand you correctly, you're saying how does the person who is lost, the person who's hurt, change their mentality? Oftentimes we don't change who we are until we feel enough pain. Until enough pain hurts us, then we say, okay, I'm willing to change this thing about me because I felt so much pain. Unfortunately, some people have high thresholds, high pain thresholds. So that person who's lost, unless someone comes alongside them that is able to get through to them, to be able to teach them and lead them, they're not going to change. Or they have to hit whatever their point of rock bottom is enough to give them enough pain to make a change for themselves. So until they hit that pain point, they're not going to change. Until somebody who can come into their life and actually have that kind of influence over them, they're not going to change. So, and I've seen that happen plenty of times where people can go their whole lives and never meet that person that inspires them to change. Or they never hit a point of pain that inspires them to change. Or they hit those pain points, but they got enablers around them. Because I was an enabler for a friend of mine where, they come in, they hit that pain point, but you're cuddling them, you're taking care of them, you're making sure, oh, it's okay, it's all right. You're making them feel like it's okay to be that. And in your coddling of them, they get love from it. Amazingly enough, they'll get love from that, and then they'll stay stuck. Because then when you stop cuddling them, then they'll go and hit that pain point again, just so that you'll come back and cuddle them again. And if you won't do it, they'll find somebody else to do it. But they're always looking for that. Now, I know somebody who, oh my gosh, normally you would just call them a leech. But they're not just a leech. They're looking, they put themselves in position to be there. They wait for you to suffer, and then they show up to be your helper. But the whole time they're showing up to be your helper because they don't want to take care of themselves, and they leech off of you as long as they can figure out how you continuously will need their help. Now, once you realize you don't need their help anymore, they start getting on your nerves, and then that person kicks them out to the curb. They go out, they struggle, they survive until they find that next person who's in a painful situation where they can come and be a help, and then leech off that person. They never actually hit a pain point that makes them go and do it for themselves. So it gets very detailed into the individual person, but these are just in general statements. But basically, everybody has a pain point they have to hit, and then you have to let them hit it. You have to let them hit it. That's one of the hardest things about being a parent, is allowing your child to hit that pain point. You don't want to. You hope that they will learn beforehand, but they don't always. But this is why I try to teach my children inner discovery. Truly figure out who you are. My son didn't want to go to college as soon as he graduated high school, so I didn't make him. Now he's getting ready to go to college. And even in that, I told him, take your time. Discover yourself before you start spending money on degrees that you're never going to use. So get to dive into who you are. What's going to make you happy every day? Every day, what's going to make you happy? Some people don't understand. I'm not like, yes, do I want to grow a huge YouTube audience and, and make a living, and it'd be great to make a living just off YouTube? That would be great, but not for the reason that most people think. Not because I seek fame, because I don't really, because I don't want people all in my business like that. It's because I love teaching and I love doing this. So I would only want to have that 1 million subscribership simply because it would then allow me the ability to be able to do this every day, multiple times a day, whether I'm shooting a regular video or doing lives, because I love this. I love this, right? The hardest struggle I have is, do I do it as a regular video or do I do it as a live? But I love doing this. And even in doing this, I get like so off track and everything, because we're supposed to be talking about how to dive into your deeper divinity. One of the things that you'll find if you start reading the Gospel of Thomas is that it repeats itself a lot, right? Like verse 14 is very similar, saying 14 is very similar to saying 6. Now it says, Yeshua said, if you fast, you will bring sin upon yourself. If you pray, you will be condemned. If you give to charity, you will harm your spirit. When you go into any region and walk about the countryside, when the people take you in, eat what they serve you, and heal the sick among them. After all, what goes into the mouth that won't defile you is what comes out of the mouth that will. Many people just connect that to a verse in the Bible that says something very similar, and other teachings of it that's very similar. But what I see in that is saying that we can do these things to make us look a certain way, make people perceive us a certain way, and make us even perceive ourselves in the mirror and say, well, hey, I pray, I fast, I give to charity, I do all these things. All these things are inner, just you by yourself. You don't need anybody to do that. The hard part is getting out and doing the actual work of what you are supposed to be doing, what you believe, what you follow, Yeah, you can give money easily. We can go online and give money. It's gone, right? Like, if I said to you guys right now, I want to build a tower of learning here in Atlanta, and just give me money. It's easy to just give me money. But if I said I want to build this tower of learning, this tower of wisdom, money is great, but I need you guys to move to Atlanta. Let's get the building. I need somebody to be janitors. I need somebody to be the secretary. I need somebody to be teachers. I need somebody to be assistants. I need people to do this work. That's a whole nother story at this point. That's a whole nother story. So it's easy to just give out money. It's easy to just, say prayers. It's easy to say well wishings. But what's difficult is actually doing the work. So it's easy, if you went and watched my videos about going limitless, it's easy to sit down and meditate the way I showed you how to meditate. It's easy to take in that good prana from the chakra, bring it up, and then release it all on a count of 6. It's easy to sit and meditate. It's easy to go and sit and do it in your privacy of your home, in public, wherever, in the park. It's easy to go do that, right? It's easy for me to tell you that in order to open your chakras, you have to release your fear. See, if you want to find your inner divinity, you can't live based on fear. Fear can't be your mechanism for living. So for all those who are in a religion and their actual basis in being in that religion is a fear base, oh, I'm in this religion, I refuse to give this religion up because I don't want to go to hell, right? You're living in fear. You may call it respect. You may call it anything else you want to call it, but in truth, at the core, if you was honest, it's fear. It's fear. Now, some will say, no, I do it because I love God and, I pray to Allah or I pray to the descendant God. I pray to Krishna and my wife was healed. My son was healed. I was healed. This financial gain came to me. So I'm doing it because of, this, because of my experience. Because of my experience. But then what if I said that, okay, that's good. Your vibration, everything created that. But what if I told you that some of the things that are written in this book are not necessarily true? That these are things that are brought over from other places, and that the true understanding of what you would call a God is not something that requires worship. Because what God will require anything. Anything. And let's come into that understanding. That only thing that is saying is love. Just love yourself as you would love your neighbors. Just treat other people as you would want to be treated. Don't need any worship from you. Don't need you to show up with other people. Don't need you to take 1,000 steps. Don't need you to do any of these things. But if you treat others as you would treat yourself, then I don't have to tell you to take care of widows and orphans. Because if you were a widow, you'd want somebody to help take care of you. If you were an orphan, you'd want somebody to take care of you. So I don't need all that. I don't need you. A good, true God wouldn't need all of that. But then that would disturb you because then you say, whoa. Because if I don't follow my way of understanding God, then I don't get into heaven. I go to hell. That's where that fear comes in. That's where that fear comes in. Because if you truly understood love, then there would be no hell. As a parent, no matter how bad my children are, I would not punish them to that degree. As a parent, I would try to make opportunity after opportunity. So if I'm all powerful, you messed up this life, why don't I recycle you and you come back again? Let's try this one more time. If I'm a parent, I'm not going to do that. I even go back to the original stories that they have of falling angels and war in heavens and things of this nature. It is not, and I asked this question one time in a church and got cussed out. It are not the angels that fought against God according to the Christian Bible, which is not really in the Christian Bible. It's just remarked about because it's actually in the in the book of Enoch. But the fact is, the doctrine says that there was a war in heaven. Were not those God's children? Do not they deserve an opportunity to redeem themselves? Why are they cast into a position where they make one mistake and they are forever done for? Even in the end, and even they say they know the story, they know how it ends, but they do not get an opportunity. But yet you get opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. So, for me, it's like if there is a God of love, then his children would have opportunities to get themselves right. But not to get themselves right and like, oh, let me bow down on you, but get themselves right into understanding who they really are and how they should truly just live their life. So, in that, if you think that there's this lake of fire burning in hell, you're condemned for all eternity and that sort of thing, then that is not love. That is fear. That is fear. And in opening your first chakra in order to find your divine, get into your divinity, you cannot live by fear. Fear blocks everything else in your life. But when you ask them about heaven and ask, yes, fear is when you ask about heaven, and ask what is their religious version, is always an earthly answer. But of course it is. Because an earthly answer is all you have. What in the Tao? He holds to what is deep and not what lies on the surface. The way that all the descriptions of hell are surface ideas, are surface thoughts. Even in the Egyptians thought that you went to the underworld and you pretty much had the same life and the same job that you had in the current world. Well, that sucks. That sucks. What if I was like, what if my job was the person who held a bucket for people to piss and crap in, or I had my job was to clean the gutters, or to clean up after the animals have defecated all over the place. What if that was my job? I don't want that. What kind of afterlife is that? Now for all eternity, I'm walking around cleaning up crap. That's not a heaven, In the Greeks and the Romans, it was Hades, and you go down and Hades is the king of the underworld, or you go down there and you be with Hades, and you're just suffering and that sort of thing. What's that? You get to go and be with the gods. In the Mormons, it's you and your wife go and y'all have some babies and y'all start a whole new earth. But unless you're black, then if you're black, then you can go and serve those people. Go serve those people. If you're a Muslim woman and you martyr yourself, then you're transformed into a man and you get 72 virgins. Sorry. There's all these earthly descriptions of heaven and hell. In heaven there are 12 trees, and these trees produce fruit annually, sitting by a river. Okay, if I'm in heaven, I'm in my new body. Why do I need to eat? What am I eating for? What am I sustaining? If it's supposed to be forever, so it's all human thought process because the way we really can't conceptualize what happens after this. As far as we can go is that pure energy, purity. What is? Have no idea. For all you know, and just hear me out, right? And don't forget about the mansions, right? Mansions, because we have to think in terms of we have houses here, we need shelter here. So you have to think, so mentally you project shelters in the next life. But there was an episode in Star Trek that I loved. Star Trek. Well, I don't know which one it was. I don't know if it was Generations, Star Trek Generations, where these people, they became pure energy. Nope, it was Voyager. They became pure energy. And once they became pure, they metamorphosized into pure energy. They just went out into the void of space and just existed. That space folded on itself and they just went out into space and they understood different dimensional planes and all that sort of thing, right? But the people have been persecuting those who were going through that metamorphosis and calling them, heretics and that sort of thing, trying to punish them because they didn't want to show people a new way, right? That happens actually, it's like 3 different episodes of Star Trek Voyager that has that, and I think 1 episode of Star Trek Generation that has a similar message. But, that we can't conceptualize much more than what we know. And of course, people back in the day, they conceptualized everything based on what they know, based on what they knew at the time. They couldn't conceptualize what we do today. They told, what was his name, Divinity, that, he was crazy. Nostradamus was crazy. Merlin was crazy for a lot of the things that he said. They said that man would be flying in iron birds. We have that now, but they thought that they were crazy back then for even suggesting that. So that's why everything is put into those levels. But that's why we have to dive deeper than the surface. But that is also why we have to come to that level of understanding that the wisest person is the one who knows how much they don't know. How much they don't know. Ask me what happens after this existence, I don't know. I can't tell you. But what I do know is that we are all energy. We are all energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. Energy just transmutes from one to the next, one level to the next. Now this body is separate from this consciousness. They are not one and the same. There is a verse in the Gospel of Thomas that expresses that. Let me see if I can find it real quick. That how we are, it is not one and the same. It is completely different. I believe it's 60s. Is it 67? Well, no. But this one, 67, does say, those who know all but are lacking in themselves are utterly lacking. You know all. Many knowledgeable people. Many people know a lot of stuff. But they're lacking in the knowledge of self. And therefore you're lacking. In other places it says that this body is the poverty. That the flesh is the poverty. In other places it says that miserable is the body that depends on the body. But even more so is the soul that depends on the body. Right? The soul that depends on the body is miserable. It lives in poverty. It's always lacking. So when you can only conceptualize things based on the body, you will utterly be lacking and living in poverty. Back to verse 12 of the Tao. So the sage is led by the inner truth and not his outer eye. Not by the poverty of the body, but by the inner truth. Your inner being. And that inner being can only go so far. And the law of correspondence says, as above, so below. And many people will know that part of it. But what they don't go into is the fact that it talks about there is spiritual plane A, spiritual plane B, spiritual plane C. And then there's matter plane A, matter plane B, matter plane C. Now, at spiritual plane C and matter plane A, this is where the crossing goes. This is where the connection is. Spiritual plane A doesn't connect to matter plane B. You have to go through. And it is at that little gray area that physical plane A and spiritual plane C connect. Now you can use as many letters in the alphabet as you want, but I'm just, you get the point. They connect right there. Elevating your conscious thought to the point where your mental plane A, your physical plane A is right there at spiritual plane C, is those people, is the mindset of being able to see just over the top. Just enough to get an idea of. But to see spiritual plane B, spiritual plane A, you don't see that. This is where we make up stuff. This is where people have made stuff up, right? Nobody's been to heaven nor hell and come back and told you about it. People say, oh, I've had this, I've lived another life. I always find it interesting. People who don't believe in reincarnation would tell a small child that, oh, you're an old soul, you've been here before. Isn't that not reincarnation, right? I've always found that interesting. But what I do find is that for all we know, the consciousness that you have right now could dissipate and join in with light consciousness and all coming together to manifest in a new being, whether it's a brand new baby or it's a brand new being at a higher conscious level. Maybe that is why people say, I remember a past life. I've had dreams of a past life. It's because this person existed as a cab driver in New York in the 1920s. They existed. When they died, their consciousness dissipated. Because the law of vibration and the law of polarity says that like things are attracted to one another. So the aspects of your consciousness that are similar to another person's consciousness may come together and form a new being. For all we know, that could be what happens, which is why we have grown in population over and over and over and over again. Because that's why I first thought about that. Because my question was, okay, how do we keep growing in population and people having souls, having souls, having souls? The Catholics have their story of the Gulf. I don't know if you guys know what the Gulf is in the Catholic doctrine. Let me see. Before I answer that, let me see what you're saying here. Do you think or know if any of your ancestors' energy are transferred to you in any way? You see, that's what I'm saying. For all you know, the reason why you are connected to your ancestors is because their consciousness spread out. I don't know if you ever see that movie Powder, where he's running, and at the end of the movie Powder, spoiler alert, it's an old movie, but it's a great movie. You should go check out the movie Powder. He's running, the lightning is hitting him, and boom, his total body turns into energy and blasts out. But at that moment, everybody around feels his presence. It's like a part of him became a part of them. It's like his consciousness became a part of everyone else's consciousness. So for all we know, the reason you're connected to your ancestors, the reason you can connect to spiritual plane B or spiritual plane C is the fact that your ancestors' consciousness has become a part of who you are. A part of who you are. And here's the thing about it. This is a working theory of mine. This is a working thought process of mine. There's no way I can prove it, and there's no way anyone can disprove it, because nobody knows. We have literature from time immemorial that says it's this and it's that, but nobody knows. If the Egyptians were right, guess when you'll know? You die, and if Anubis and Thoth are standing there, then you'll know. And if Osiris is the boatman, then you'll know. But until that happens, you're not going to know. And guess what? There's no coming back. You don't come back and tell other people. So you don't know. You don't know. Yeah, that movie is very good. Powder. See, you guys, there's some deeper stuff in these movies, and I'll be paying attention to them all, But 67 says, those who know all but are lacking in themselves are utterly lacking. You want to get your inner divinity, get to know who you are. Actually find out who you are. Don't be scared to find out who you are. Don't be afraid. Just open yourself up and say the truth. Say the truth. And sometimes your truth changes. If you had asked me 10 years ago, okay, let me put it like this. 10 years ago, I wanted to be one of the most powerful people in the world. I did. I wanted the boatman, yep. But I wanted to be one of the most powerful people in the world 10 years ago. I honestly did. My thought process 10 years ago, when I first started YouTubing and I first started building a persona and that sort of thing, was that I wanted to be one of the most powerful people in the world, and one of the ways to do that is to be a huge influencer. It's not all, as a black man in America, becoming a billionaire is hard, is incredibly difficult, and is not something that not the pathway I wanted to go. It was becoming an influencer. Right, 10 years ago, if you had asked me that, that was my statement. And there was a part of me that, and one of my friends, I used to pick. It was a joke among us, and it was the thought of. She used to say all the time, "Hey, if you start a religion, that's how you can do it. Start a religious movement. That's how you can become one of the most powerful people in the world." But what turned me off of that is the fact that you control people. I have absolutely no desire to control people, period. Period. I don't like it. I don't want it. It's not something, I don't want no one controlling me, so how can I control people? And then my thought was, what if the things that I tell people doesn't work for certain people? That's why I always say, take from me what works from you, throw away what don't. If you are a Christian, Muslim, Jew, whatever, listening to any of my videos, and y'all like to come and try to argue with me, at the end of the day, I tell you, good journey, good vibrations. But throughout the whole thing, the idea is take what works from you. If it doesn't work for you, move along. Call me crazy, and keep it moving. But I don't want to control people. So today, I don't want to be one of the most powerful people in the world. I don't. Because that means that I have to control people in order to do it. And I have no desire to do that. That's not me. I wouldn't be happy doing it. Selfishly, it's not going to make me happy. So we have to look within ourselves to understand us. There's another saying in the Gospel of Thomas, verse statement number 70, right? But you controlling people with the popcorn? Yes, indeed. Yes. I ain't going to tell you what's in that popcorn. But boy, you get a little piece of it. You get some of it. I got you. I got you. And what Crystal is talking about, I own a company called Uncle Renz Popcorn. So it's the letter U, the letter R, and the word popcorn.com. 25 flavors of gourmet popcorn, best popcorn you ever had in your life. Go ahead and order some. Especially during this quarantine. You need some popcorn during the quarantine. Y'all just sitting at home anyway. Order some popcorn. Matter of fact, I'm going to ship some on Monday, so you need to go ahead and order it. Order it today so you can get it shipped out on Monday. Some people keep telling me, well, you putting crack in that popcorn. But nah, it's just good. It's good. Hey, it makes me happy to make other people happy. So anyway, number 70, it says, Yeshua is saying, if you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have excuse me, if you do not have that within you, what you do not have within you will kill you. Like, I really wish this was part of the canonized Bible, because I believe that this would change a lot of people's thoughts. So, yes, plug like a big dog. I sure was plugging it. But this verse here, I wish it would have made it into the Christian Bible, the Quran, the Torah. I wish it would have made it into them. All right, because you do find this in the Bhagavad Gita. You do find this statement in the in the Dhammapada, the Bhagavad Gita. You do find it in the Eastern teachings. You find a similar one in the Tao. But it's if you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not have that within you, what you do not have will kill you. If you do not bring forth your inner divinity, this is why opening your chakras is important. This is why know thyself is important. Because it is that which will save you. Nothing on the outside. Nothing outside of you is going to save you. It is what's inside you that's always going to save you. Like I gave the financial example earlier. If you are struggling financially today, it is up to what is inside you to change, and you will save yourself within the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. But if you never gain that inside you, you will never be saved from poverty. One of the statements, I don't know who said it. I know it was one of them Carnegie, Rockefeller type people who said it. But they said something to the effect that a man who cannot save is something to poverty. We'll always be in poverty, basically, is what they were saying. But they said if being able to save is not within you, then becoming wealthy is not within you. Which goes to that. If you don't have it within you to save money, then you don't have it within you to become wealthy. Now, it's not just saving money that makes you wealthy. That discipline to be able to save the money is what will make you wealthy. That discipline says that, hey, if I'm willing to save, I'm willing to study to find out how to invest my money. If I'm willing to save and I'm willing to invest my money, I'm willing to have the discipline to allow that return on my investment to come in and then go out and create more money. This is where the richest man in Babylon talks about this all the time. That having the persistence to follow the 5 rules of gold, having the persistence to follow the pathway to the 7 cures of a lean purse, having the persistence and the discipline and the dedication to be able to invest 10% of what you earn and then allow that investment to continue to roll itself over until it brings you a river of gold. If you don't bring forth what is within you, it will kill you, because you will constantly live in poverty financially if you can't do that. Now, to the matters of the spirit, if you can't bring that within you, if you can't get that in you to be able to look deep into yourself, to recognize that no one's truth is truth but your own truth, and that what you hate, things you displease, that displease you, that goes against you, those are the blasphemy of your spirit. If you can't get that in you, then you will die. You will suffer. I see people going to churches, mosques, temples all the time, praying the same prayer, begging the same begging. But never once do they look inside themselves and say, what is it that I can do to change my outcome? I look at people with this, and like I said, I'm going to talk about COVID-19 tomorrow and what things you can do. But let me give you a small sampling of it. A small sampling of it. I've known people who have cured themselves from cancer. Most of us have heard of people like Dr. Sebi, but many of us will not do the things that they say that keeps your body healthy. We know that viruses cannot live in an alkaline state. So if you alkaline your body, viruses cannot live. We also know that even if your blood level is alkaline, but in your joints and other membranes of your body, you're maintaining mucus, that viruses and bacteria can live in that mucus, staying dormant until your body becomes acidic and then proliferate itself through your body. So, as we face down things like COVID-19 and people are being cured without having a vaccine, you have to ask yourself, is your body alkaline? Am I doing what's necessary to keep my body alkaline? Am I reducing or eliminating the mucus in my body? Ask yourself the question, am I eating the dairy? Am I eating meat? Am I drinking alcohol? Am I getting my body drinking the water? Am I keeping my body alkaline, especially during this time frame? These are the things we're going to talk about tomorrow. So let's not get heavy into it right now. We're going to talk about that and a few other things. We're going to talk about meditation. We're going to talk about how your mind is, how your mind frequencies changes, your way your cells work. We're going to talk about those things tomorrow, but let's not get into those. But I just want you to have an understanding of just that until you bring what's in you out and live by it, be strengthened by it, your salvation is so far away from you. You'll never reach it. You're never going to have it, because it's up to you to save yourself and no one else. Let's see, CD has a question. What do you think this world as we know it would look like if no religion or belief? How long does alkaline water stay active on the shelf? I don't know how long alkaline water stays active on the shelf. It shouldn't change unless it's sitting in sunlight. It still should be fine. It's sealed. It should be fine. It should be. Don't quote me on it, but I'll research that for tomorrow's video. What would this world look like with no religion? We would have a lot less war. I can tell you that. Most of the wars that we've had over these centuries have been because of religious reasons. And so we will have less war. But I got to say this. Man in himself is territorial and greedy and loves labels. If we're not fighting over religion, then we're fighting over nationalities and territories and races and economics and resources. We're fighting over those things. So a world without religion would just be, it'll be a world that's based on some other philosophy. We be arguing about, well, I'm a Stoic, and the Stoic philosophy says it's up to me and this and that and the third. And we argue and fuss and fight over that. Well, I follow Nietzsche, or I follow the Hermetics. So we will find a reason. I'm a student of Aristotle and Plato and Socrates, we will find some rationale, some reason. As a son of Thoth, you know, I am. We find some other reason to hate each other, to fight each other, because man, we exist based on this body, this thing, right? Instead of inside. If think about it like this: peel my skin back, peel another man's skin back. Who's black? Who's white? How can you tell? You can't. You can't tell. Snatch off the nose, so all you have that little hole. You can't tell. You know. So we'd find a reason. We do. This is why labels are the most destructive thing that we have, and we'll find another label. But what about the ladies with the big hats? What are we going to do without actually be able to see in front of us? That's what we'll do without the ladies in the big hats. But it's always knowing and looking in ourselves. And I had said something earlier, but it actually comes from verse 80 where it says, "Whosoever has come to know the world has discovered the body or the carcass. And whosoever has discovered the body, to that one the world is not worthy." Now there's a reason why I am connected to this verse, this statement. Because once you discover this world, you realize how fake it is, how non-existent it is, how temporary it is, how this world doesn't really have any control over you. But because you do exist on this planet in this time frame, you do have to deal with it. You do have to deal with it. This is where the law of correspondence comes into play again. Although I may be spiritually and mentally, moving towards spiritual plane C, I still currently exist in matter plane A, B, and C. And in matter plane A, B, and C, race exists, nationalities exist, ignorance exists. So I still have to be mindful of it and deal with it. But I don't have to allow it to exist in me. I don't have to allow it to control me. I don't have to allow it to force me how to think. Many people, you grew up a certain way. You look at my family, I don't think like the majority of people in my family. I don't live like majority of people in my family. I don't act like majority of people in my family. But we all love each other. We show love to each other. We have a good time with each other. We do all those things with each other. We respect each other's boundaries as much as we can. We can, you get into arguments. But I don't force my way of believing and thinking on them and living on them. They don't force theirs on me. So, although I've discovered the carcass, the body of the world, right? Or in some phrases, I've discovered the matrix I discovered this level of the matrix because it's just matrices on top of matrices. I've discovered this level of the matrix. Then according to the Gospel of Thomas, this world is not for me. And I can see it. Sometimes it becomes very difficult for me to exist in this world, to exist around most humans. Most humans, and my kids laugh and people close to me, they laugh because they know once I start calling people humans, they know what I'm talking about. Not that I'm putting myself superior to other people, but when I start calling these people humans, it is the lack of understanding their own divinity within themselves. And it drives me crazy because to me, it's right in your face. It's right in your face. There's a part of the Gospel of Thomas where it says that the Pharisees have taken the keys of knowledge and have locked the doors of the temple from the people, but they too themselves do not go in. That they are like dogs who sit in front of the feeding pen. They do not allow the cattle to eat, and nor do they eat. They've stolen the keys of knowledge and kept it away from you. When you recognize the world as a body, as a carcass, as a dead place, and you're not of this world in your mindset, then you find yourself surrounded by those who are trying to beat you and hold you and keep you down, trying to make you conform into how they live their life and how they perceive everything to be. They are the ones who tell you that you ain't studied enough and you ain't got it enough, you don't understand it enough, and my God this and my God that. Everybody has a my God this and a my God that. Everybody has a you ain't studied enough, you don't know enough because I don't agree with you. It becomes difficult. Sometimes you look at the humans and you really wish the spaceship would come and pick you up because you say, I don't belong here with these people. You really waiting. Like, where are the Anunnaki? Let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready. But that verse always makes me think about that because it's like, The world is just not worthy of it because the world stays stuck on stupid. You gotta relax talking about snatching skins off. I'm just saying. 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 You know, you peel the skin back, everybody look the same. Genuine love can never be replaced. Right. I mean, my family, we went through it a couple times though. Don't get me wrong. We done been through it a couple times with the fam. Um, perfect example. The movie They Live. Oh, I haven't seen that in a long, long time. I have to check that one out again. Let me hit a couple of these other ones because I didn't promise my wife that I did promise her I'd be quick tonight. But yeah, you know, the Ozark came out season 3, so we about to binge the Ozarks tonight. But I want to hit 2 other quick verses, statements, sayings. Saying 87 says, "How miserable is the body that depends on the how miserable is the body that depends on the body, and how miserable is the soul that depends on the two." Basically, how miserable is your soul that depends on this flesh? So, meditating is one way to start getting outside of this. In order to get your mind wrapped around different concepts, meditating and studying. But as you meditate and as you study, as you come into understanding, see, meditating and studying will move you into getting spiritual facts and move you into getting earthly human facts. And many people who are like me, they have studied the history of things. They've studied the history of things. They know the history of things. There are historical things that when I'm in the company of other people and we're having a discussion about something, I don't bring up the historical corrections or the historical facts because there's no point. We're not going to get anywhere. What we're going to do is turn it into an argument. But there are people who know those things, but they haven't but they will come out and I want to argue, I'm going to yell, fight, and I want to argue, I'm going to correct you, I want to argue, I want to correct you, right? So what good does it do when you do that? My thing is, get the historical data, get the facts, get the spiritual facts, go through your meditation. You know, I did a video the other day that talked about the different mudras. You know, you got your power chakra mudra, you got your throat chakra mudra, you got your sacral chakra mudra, you got your foundation mudra. What was it? Your heart mudra, your third eye, and then your crown mudras. I can teach you the mudras. I can teach you how to breathe that prana breath and release the nirvana. And you can do them. You'll gain some peace and you'll gain some insight. But then everything you gain, peace, insight, every download from the universe that you get, put it into action. Put it into action. And then see what happens. Evaluate the results. Change actions that need to be changed and put it back into action. As things change, the constant in the universe is vibration and polarity. Everything keeps moving. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Keep changing. What the whole thing of facts, understanding, wisdom is called the trivium. Keep learning. Keep understanding. Keep putting into action, gaining that wisdom. Learn how to do that, right? And then you start moving into a whole nother level of understanding. Then you start moving outside of the body. Then you start knowing truly who you are. You then become a manifester of your life. You then become a person who says that, you know what? Everything that has happened happens due to cause and effect. For every effect, there is a cause, and for every cause, there is an effect, right? So, once you truly understand the power of cause and effect and how vibration and polarity work in concert with that, as well as the law of mentalism and the law of correspondence, then you use the law of gender to birth whatever it is in order to create the effect so that you can get the cause you desire. You become the person who manifests their life how you choose to manifest life. You bring things into your life that you decided is going to be. You have now unleashed yourself from being a captive of this world, unleashed yourself from being a captive of the poverty of the body, and you live now by the Spirit. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. There are people who have done this and they do it for good stuff. There are people who do it for bad stuff. It is not something that really cares if it's good or evil. It is something that just is, right? It's something that just is. Throwing the setup. Yeah, my mudras. Throwing the setup. I meditate by listening to the breathing, to quiet and my breathing correct my mind. Yes, that's one thing. The first thing I always teach people is to focus on your breathing. But I made me forget what I was saying. But shit, I forgot exactly what I was saying right there. She done threw me completely off. Oh, you become the moving faith. You begin to manifest beyond the body, beyond the flesh. You're not captive anymore to this body, to this flesh. Now you can manifest whatever life it is that you choose. Oh, good and evil. So there is another saying in the Gospel of Thomas. Don't know which one it is. This is why you gotta go read this stuff yourself. Where he talks about grapes do not come from a thorn tree or thistles or a thistle plant or something like that. That you can't get grapes from thorns, right? So whatever, if a heart is evil, then it will only produce evil. If a heart is good, it will only produce good. So when people from either side, I've like in the Christian Bible said God is not respect of person, has no respect of person. I think it says in the Torah or in the Hebrew Bible, but God has no respect of person. Good and evil has no respect of person, right? The law of cause and effect, the Hermetics have no respect of person. Living by your spirit have no respect of person. If you have created an evil spirit, you will produce evil from utilizing the law of cause and effect, i.e. Hitler, i.e. Oh God, the dude name just fell out my mind. Any totalitarian dictator who's killing people just for their own purposeful benefit, any cult leader who had people doing crazy stuff, wearing some tennis shoes and killing themselves, waiting on a spaceship, drinking Kool-Aid, any person who's a murderer, thief, it doesn't matter. They may understand cause and effect to a certain degree. Any person who's a big old company, they poisoning people, killing people, doing all this kind of thing. If you're a good person, you understand the law of cause and effect, you're going to produce good things. If you're a bad person and you understand the laws of cause and effect, you're going to produce bad things. It's just how it is. You can't change it. This is why this world is so jacked up on this earthly level, and it'll stay jacked up. That damn wine, it's not the wine. It's the fact that y'all will say something and I get thrown off, then I didn't come back. But I'm always coming back. And here's the thing about wine. I should do a whole video about this. Me and my wife had a discussion about wine a couple days ago. Actually, a week ago. Like, I don't drink to get drunk. You will never find me drunk. If you find me drunk, it's because somebody put something in my drink. But what you will never find is me drinking to get drunk. Gluttony of anything is blasphemy to me. It's blasphemy to who I am. It's taking me into a point where something else controls me. But wine has its good purposeful uses as well as its dangers. In the same way as vitamin C has its great purposeful uses, but in excess has its dangers. Food. It could, look, I can tell you to be a vegetarian all day. Does that mean that you're going to be healthy? No, you're not. Nope. I don't get tipsy either. Like that little glass of wine is all that I would have. It didn't get me tipsy or anything like that. But it does help open up your blood flow so that your blood flows better, streams better. I don't drink red wine. It's nasty to me. But I wish I could, but because it has more resveratrol in it, which is good for your cholesterol and things of that nature and your heart. But it has the resveratrol in it, which is good for you as well. But the thing about it is, a vegetarian, I can tell you to be vegetarian, but many vegetarians are unhealthy because they're eating too many complex carbs, they're eating too many processed food, and they're still grossly overweight, and so their body is still in a bad situation. They're still not alkaline, their bodies are still acidic. If they're eating the wrong type of vegetables, or red is too bitter, or they're eating the wrong type of vegetables. So anything can be detrimental to you, but at the same time, that same thing can help you. It's just like it said earlier, when you bring, in verse saying 70, bring forth what is within you and it will save you. That same thing that can save you is the same thing that'll kill you. Because if you don't bring it forth, it's going to kill you. Because it's going to lay back lackluster, and it's never going to develop, never it's going to grow. So what I want you guys to be able to develop and to grow, right? And then the last one I'm going to say for this one, and this is why we have to really get into ourselves to understand our divinity and grow, 89 says, saying 89 is, why do you wash the outside of the cup? Don't you understand that the one who made the inside is also the one who made the outside? Now, come on, y'all. Y'all got to get some miles out of that. You got to get some miles out of that. Why do you wash the outside of the cup? When you understand the one who made the inside is also the one who made the outside. Why do we perfect the outside of the body? Makeup, hair, trimming up the beard, getting all pumped. But we ignore the inside. Whether this is through food or through our mentality, or through our spirit. We have to take care of the inside just as much as we take care of the outside. There's a verse in the Tao, don't remember which verse it is. It talks about the cup, right? And how we adorn the outside of the cup. But the usefulness of the cup is in the empty space, the inside, the empty space, right? We look at the empty space, right? And we think that it's empty. That we don't adorn that. We don't give precedence to that. But what we have to realize is that the cup, the outside of the cup, is useless. It is the inside of the cup, the empty space of the cup, that gives the cup its purpose. It is not the body that gives the soul, the spirit, its purpose. It is the spirit that gives the body its purpose. Without the spirit, what is the purpose of the body? What is the purpose of the body without the spirit? I want you to think about that. Without the spirit, your body serves no purpose whatsoever. None. You may as well be an instinctive creature that just hunts and gathers and runs and eats and procreate, and that's it. Because other than that, beyond that, your body has no purpose. So adorning the cup, washing the outside of the cup. Now don't walk around looking like a ragamuffin, but understand the true beauty, the true usefulness is the inside of the cup. The inside of the glass. I can't pour wine on the outside of the cup and utilize it, but I can pour it on the inside. And then it has its usefulness. On the surface, the sage is led by the inner truth and not the outer eye. He holds what is deep and not what lies on the surface. On the surface, I can tell you to meditate. I can tell you to sit down and write down your I ams and read over those I ams. Say them every day. On the surface, I can tell you that you should get healthy and keep your body alkaline. Right? On the surface, I can tell you these things of how you should pray and how you should meditate and how you should give charity and you should show up at this event and that event and be amongst the people. But if the inside of you is empty, if the inside of you is not being filled, if the inside of you is not taking on these facts and taking on this wisdom and putting it into practice so that you're gaining results in life, then it was useless. It was wasteful. Why did we even bother? Why do we even bother? We have to fill the inside of ourselves in order for that growth to happen, in order for us to find our inner divinity and move forward in life and become the greatest versions of ourselves. Because the greatest version of yourself is not on this earth, is not in this physical body. This body is the poverty. Your spirit is the true treasure. Your consciousness is the true treasure. What happens to it when it leaves here? I don't know. But the thing about it is this. If you know your consciousness is going to leave here, put it in the best situation it possibly can be when it does leave. Put it in the best. This is what the Buddhist and the Hindu teach as far as satisfying your dharma. Right? Satisfying your dharma. Leading a life that is free of all the mistakes and iniquities that you've had in the past. This is the Christian and Buddhist, Christian and Muslim and Jewish idea, the Abrahamic idea of repenting from your sins, right? So that your spirit, your soul is as clean as possible before it moves to the next existence of whatever it is. Let's get that tight. Let's get it right. We do that, then there's nothing but greatness ahead for us. There's nothing but greatness. As the Gospel Thomas says in another one, and the Buddhists teach that once you've reached a state where there is nothing else for you to obtain here, you don't come back. You don't come back. You move on to the next level and keep moving. You go up Jacob's ladder, not to descend, but go up Jacob's ladder. Last thing I'm going to read, CD said, thanks, Coach. You did it again. Powerful info. I know I was clowning a bit, but the info was received, and I'll try to get you live more. Again, thank you, Coach Renz. No, it's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. Like I said, I love doing this. I was only supposed to do this for 20 minutes, so I'm gonna get fussed at a little bit when I go upstairs. But thank you, appreciate it, Crystal. But it's okay. If you've already watched episode 1 of season 3 of Ozark, we're gonna have some issues. Gonna be some consequences. Right? But I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to tomorrow. We're gonna talk about different ways that you can protect yourself beyond anything the government has issued as far as your health is concerned. And if you do end up getting flu or any other kind of virus, how you can heal yourself and not get stuck just based on conventional medicines. And I'm not telling anybody not to take any conventional medicines, but stay tuned. Come in tomorrow. We're going to talk about different things that you can boost your immune system and get your body in fighting position. Like I said, if Corona want to enter my body, it's going to get a fight. It's going to get one hell of a fight trying to enter this body. So I love you guys. Y'all are great. Remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Later.